Hope it helps out. Today we're going to be talking about the future of voice and mobile search. And so we're going to talk about how that's going to impact your business, how that's changing how people find content, and what to do regards to search engine optimization and such as that. And with that, I would just like to say if you're watching this in the future recording, feel free to like and subscribe to the video. I'm going to be publishing these every week in the future. So I'll be covering different topics regarding online marketing for your business, especially around SEO and web design. All right, thanks. And with that, we'll begin. Welcome. Yeah, I'm Kurt. I'm looking forward to giving everyone advice today. You can find me all the time at kurthamel.com and on Facebook and Twitter and any social media channels, but my website is right there. So if you're looking for a recording of this or other webinars and other content, it's all on there. And with that, we'll begin. And we're going to start talking about voice search. How and where is that being used? And so first off, when we're talking voice search, the main four we're talking about is the Alexa search engine, which is with Amazon, Siri, which is Apple, Cortana, which is Microsoft, and Google Voice, which is Google products. There are some minor ones too I'll touch on really quick in another slide, but these are the big four for data providers. And Alexa is the ones you'll find on your Fire products, like the Fire tablet or the Kindles. Siri is obviously iPhone or Apple Mac products. Cortana is the Microsoft voice engine, so you'll find those on Windows applications. And Google Voice you can find on the Google Home, the Android, anything done by Google. And mobile voice search has continued to rise. It's controlled mostly by Siri and Google Assistant. So those are both powered by the Google platform. So Apple doesn't have its own search platform, so it uses Google as well. And they integrate with the home systems from Apple's products and Google's products. So, and with that, that's how it's been for a while. We've had virtual assistants on our phones, and that is going to continue to rise. We've seen search increases just continue to go. People are on the go. They want to know somewhere to be right now. It's instant gratification. And the platform you're mostly targeting when you're targeting to target, like let's say you're a food service, you're mostly going to be wanting to try to target those on-the-go food consumers that are looking through mobile search, through the voice search on their phone. And we'll talk about how you target that later. But that is going to continue to rise and has continued to rise the past few years. I'll get into statistics later too. So another big entryway in the past few years has been smart speakers. The big two are Amazon and Google, and that's the Amazon Echo with Alexa and the Amazon Echo Dots. And Google has its Google Home and Google Home Minis, and they're launching more brands. We might even see them go the way they've done with Android, make it open source, make anyone be able to use it basically. And then two smaller players are Apple and Sonos. So Apple just has one Apple home device at the moment. We can look to see them expand, but they're a little behind the curve. And Sonos, which is a luxury sound system for, not luxury, it's a mid-scale, but it's high-quality sound system for people's home that have integrated voice into their systems. And there's lots of tiny emerging ones too that'll probably base themselves off one of these platforms. Another thing to think about all this is how are we changing our business's dynamics now that people are more using voice search instead of the old traditional desktop Google search. We're also going to get into mobile search today, but to start with the voice, I mean that they're only getting one result back instead of back in the day you'd have a list of results. Today's voice search is only taking the top query, so that unless you're talking about things around, they'll give multiple, but a lot of the times you're only getting one result. So you want to be that top result a lot of the times. Continuing with voice, the power behind the engines and who you're really targeting. You're going to want to be researching Google and Bing. They're really the only two powering almost all this search. Because Siri, even though that's an Apple product, is actually powered by Google. That's the engine behind it. And Alexa currently is being powered by Bing. though in the future we may see that switch over to more Amazon's own search functions. We're not really sure. And if you guys have any questions at any point, just feel free to hit them in the chat box. I'll be reading that. And so right now, just as before, it used to be we're still SEO oriented. If you're building content, you're wanting to research through Google and Bing, see what people are researching. But now we're moving into more of a voice-oriented search, which I'll get to later, and what that means for your business. And so along with voice comes mobile-first websites. And that just means you got to be ready on the go, and that's when people are a lot of times using voice search, even at home, or with it works the same as on a home platform like the Google Home or the Amazon Echo. Everything is going to be like judged through a mobile-ready website. And that's what people using voice search on the go on their phones are going to be linked to. They're not going to be linked to a desktop version. People do not use voice search as much on a desktop. Google and Bing, like we talked about. Whoops, sorry, I went backwards there. Mobile-first web crawling, and so that means if you're trying to rank in those mobile voice searches on your phone, on your smartphone, that means Google started in 2017 with a few sites, starting to rank them first on their mobile appearances, because that's where most search is nowadays, and it's going to continue to grow, and desktop search continues to diminish. But all sites by the end of 2018 are going to be ranked on their mobile appearance, so they're not going to use their old AI. It's not going to check out your desktop appearance anymore. It's only going to check out that mobile, and different like mobile sizes too. It'll check out to see how flexible the user experience is on your website. And they test and have been testing using basically 3G or 3G LTE speeds to see your website loading speeds. So they want to make sure that your page loads in reasonable time for someone on a slower cellular network. And that has to do with voice too. So if your website is not mobile friendly and not loading in the proper times, you're not going to be always one of those things that pop up first for voice search, which is a growing trend. And this is advice straight from Google. They want you to have your site responsive ready. You want to make sure your redirects on old mobile URLs, which if you have an older site you might still be using, just our responsive version pages instead of having redirects in there. They just want one consistent responsive web design, which is mobile friendly and can be easily used by the AI to search through it for voice recognition software too, so that when someone asks a question they can pull that data up no matter what the platform is and show them. Yeah, and you want to remove any mobile URL specific configurations. So basically you don't want there to be a specific website design for mobile and desktop. You want it to be a responsive design that works on both, on any platform, from a huge screen to the smallest little iPhone normal. And doing that, you need to do speed tests, reduce your load time. To do that, to make your faster website, you really want to reduce that load time. You want a newer website. For a lot of people, they just have an old, clunky programs. Even are running on old versions of PHP, which is some back-end coding that slows down the website. Even purchasing faster hosting or talking to your web host, upgrading that. Smaller files. So that means like compressing without losing quality of like image or video files, or not hosting it yourself and just having it show up on your screen being hosted by someone else, especially with video. A lot of times you don't need to host the video yourself. I host my content on YouTube and it just shows up on my webpage. Easy loading. And less plugins if you're using WordPress or a similar platform. That's a great way to boost your speed, because so Google and Bing are testing the speed of your website, and that's how, for SEO, for how you rank through search, one of those is speed. And especially when it's coming more competitive with voice search coming in, you're going to really want to make sure you're one of the top ranking things for local, especially, or a top ranking factor for a term or keyword. And that all comes down to with building a responsive design. And so Google doesn't want, if someone's even talking or typing either on their mobile device, they're going to send them only to the sites that are responsive and beautiful user experiences on any device. They don't want to be testing if your website is good on desktop. We'll only send desktop people there. It's good on phone. They want someone who has a website that is doing everything. They want their consumer to be happy. You want your clients and customers to be happy. And that's just where it's going. What Google has been pushing also in that regards is AMP, Accelerated Mobile Pages, which is an open source coding standard. Mostly though, it's really only for news outlets or maybe your blog or something. I really don't even recommend this for anyone that's not a huge, giant company. If you're working for, a company with over 1,000 people, really, yeah, then maybe your blog needs some AMP, but for most people, just having a good web page with responsive design is good enough. Alright, and now what to do for the future. Before I go any further, so yeah, we've talked about just intro to voice and the mobile responsive, and now I'm going to pull them both together. I'm going to go over a little bit of this because this is kind of what you want to do as a business owner in response to all this new happenings. Oh, whoops. And, whoops, sorry. We're good. And with that, I'm sorry guys, one sec. Alright, we're going to just keep going. My presentation crashed, but sorry. I'm trying to get it to present again. Alright, we're just going to go from here then. So we're talking about the percentage of people using mobile and voice search. There we go. Sorry about that. Scrub that one from the recording. But and so when you're looking at this, this is like this year's terms basically, it upped it a little from the end of last year. So 70% of all search happens on mobile versus 30% on desktops. That's why we're talking about mobile so much. And then right now, 30% of all search, this is just the graph works perfectly for both, happens through voice search, and that's growing almost exponentially. I don't want to use the word exponential, it's not, but it is growing fast. And so you can even by 2 years from now expect that number to be at 40% as voice gets even more accurate and easy to use. Because right now it's still a little clunky, it's still in the beta basically. It's not perfect, as I know a lot of people can contest that. And you try using your Google Home or your Siri and they do not understand you all the time. But with these numbers growing so fast, that's why it's so important to make sure your content on your website is focused on the voice and mobile user. And with that, what you want to be doing is really gunning down featured snippets and long tail keywords. And so I'm going to show you guys really quick what that entails. So prior to this, that keywords were little words you'd focus building content around. It used to be one word. Maybe if you were, burrito place, you might focus on burrito. So when someone's looking at burrito or pizza or whatever it is. Now it's more personal, and with voice search especially, people are searching long-tailed keywords. So that goes something like where is the closest pizza shop? I'm on Bing. That is a mess up. But either way, it works the same. And so it's really using a combination of local SEO and long-tailed keywords. And so that whole string of things is something you're going to want to answer on your website. Unlike before, where you would only have to aim at one keyword and keywords similar to those, nowadays Google and Bing are looking for more long-tailed keywords, which is a whole string of words. So it might not be that whole sentence, but the AI is good enough to connect the dots. And so with that comes snippets. So in Google, if we, let's say, if you're more of a, like what I do, SEO, and so what is a snippet? It might be something you look up, which is a much more, there's this little thing that comes up here for here that comes up with the definition in Google. But if you look up more it comes up with this little top part here. It's called a snippet, and that's what we're really aiming for with the voice search and the mobile search both. Because it used to be you would want to really aim for that top page with SEO. Nowadays, we're aiming for that snippet with a long tail keyword, especially in your niche or niche. People's voice search is becoming much more naturally utilized, and Google and Bing are relating to that, especially Google, which is the #1 platform. And so Google snippets are becoming really what you're fighting for, and only one company gets that snippet. And that brings a lot of traffic in. And that's also those snippets are being used by Google's AI to like answer questions on voice search and stuff like that. So unless you are that snippet, it's becoming harder and harder to compete with that. Obviously, people still scroll and look on the desktop, but on mobile, that snippet is almost entirely what you're gunning for. And that's becoming much more of the search along with voice. And that all comes from long tail keywords. And once again, long tail keywords are just, you know, there's sentences and phrases that have to do with an old keyword that you might like. If it's, for me, it's SEO. I can't just like target SEO or search engine optimization or online marketing. I have to like drive around an idea, a whole phrase. And I mean, it's almost easier for you. You can write more content around that phrase and be more dedicated in a specific question. But that all comes with researching what those phrases are for your niche or niche. Yeah. Does anyone have any questions on any of that stuff? Feel free. I feel like, but that's with the farther along we go in this mobile and voice trend, the more competitive SEO gets, and especially with all that, it's just more natural, as this shows. You have less need for specific search. Better AI, more voice search. Honestly, it's also a combination of younger and older participants as well. So where older people tend to ask more questiony ways of typing in things, they might be more, not really understand the limits of search, but Google's AI has kind of caught up with that. And so when they ask for something like, do I have school tomorrow? And younger people are growing up without even understanding that you couldn't search like that. Google now knows like your location. They know enough through your basically history. They can figure out where you kind of go to school, or bring up a listing of the schools from the area from local news or something, and pull that in one of their little snippets, which is why it's important to rank for that stuff. But you gotta think. It used to be you could really go technical with SEO. Nowadays, you gotta focus much more on natural speech. Because the AI is getting better, and that's how people are searching. Like that's what the whole voice search and mobile search are both doing. It's giving you a combination of more long-tailed phrases that people are trying to rank for. And so with your business, when you're creating content, that's what you want to be thinking about these days. That's the future, and it's going to just head more that way. Less people search one word on Google. It's more whole phrases and questions. And that's why all this adds up to local search mattering more now than ever before. Users are searching on the go and in the moment. So if they're hungry, you want to be competing for that. If you need something in your area, you want it now. You're not going to research the top 10 things. Normally, that first person to answer your question, or locally, especially with Google Maps, they're building towards that mobile search and that voice-friendly readiness of the local people. They want to help out local businesses. They're pushing more local search all the time. But it comes down to making sure you're mobile-friendly and voice-friendly with your website and your search results. If you're not using those long tails for SEO, and if you're not using the correct optimization for your website, it's just not going to happen in these days. I mean, obviously, it still will happen, but you'll definitely see a decrease in traffic if you've been using older SEO techniques than what's happening now. People want that immediate gratification. Google understands that. It's a competitive environment. I mean, Bing and Google actually kind of is a little scared that Bing's going to grow up a little more worldwide. Google has competitors in other countries like Russia and China. They're trying to give the best user experience for their users. They want to support the local businesses that are supporting the best for their users as well. So whether you're local or large scale, it's all coming down to this long tail keyword, voice search friendly and mobile friendly world that we're moving into in this future. The old SEO techniques are not keeping up as much anymore. So with that, if anyone has any questions, please throw them in the sidebar. If you want more tips and stuff, this was more like kind of a future look at how the world of content marketing and SEO is changing. But normally I'll do more tips and tricks. Like if you looked at my last webinar, that was, if you missed that, it was how to do local listings and citations for your business.